after the riot. Oh yes, that was great, and the book was a bestseller too, right? As the line moved forward, Lauren held on to her new friend and, in an excited voice, said, "That's it. In fact, it sold over 1 million copies. Well, the kids were considered outcasts. They didn't like reading or writing, or each other for that matter, and all they seemed to know was violence. Then in walks this bubbly school teacher who tried to bring them together." "I remember it well," Greg said. "She got the kids to start writing and helped them find their own voices by having them write about their lives." "Very good," congratulated Lauren Nelson. "You do know the story, and this is that teacher." She pointed to Aaron Gruel. "I was just a catalyst for these young people, nothing more. The stories they told were their own, based on their own personal experiences." Aaron seemed genuinely modest about the whole thing. "There were always challenges from day one, and there still are. We've had death threats, letters from the Ku Klux Klan. People tried to ban us. The book was even sent to the FBI to investigate. Can you believe that? But that never stopped us. And thank goodness we kept going, because these kids' stories have touched millions of lives. The project is even being used at Ivy League schools to help teach future teachers." "Amazing," Greg managed. "But the main thing I learned," Aaron continued, "is to be careful what you ask for." Feeling that she was about to say something profound, Greg reached into his pocket and pulled out his notepad. She explained, "Remember, goals are aspirations until they become real. Then they become responsibility." Lauren added, "We may desire a family, a new car, or a big job promotion, and then once we attain that, it becomes our new responsibility. Because then we have a family that relies on us, and a car that needs insurance and upkeep. And once we get that corner office, we take on tasks that are even greater than we had before." Aaron said, "That's exactly true. And now that we have all this attention and have people relying on us, our task is more powerful than ever. We must keep this mission going around the world, sharing that each of us is very important and has something to contribute. We couldn't stop now, even if we wanted to, but the good news is that we love what we're doing and have no intention of letting up." It seemed no matter where Greg was or whom he found himself speaking to, the topic of finding one's purpose was a recurring theme. "What about you, Lauren?" Greg asked. "What keeps you going?" "In my case, I don't have as dramatic a story as Aaron. In fact, I can say that my life has had the completely opposite perspective than the kids she's worked with. What keeps me going is what I call focused faith." Greg and Aaron looked at Lauren inquisitively. "Let me explain," she went on. "In today's world, it seems people are measured by how many things they can juggle at one time. We call it multitasking. How many balls we can keep in the air at any given moment. Then we wonder why nothing ever gets accomplished. What I can tell you is this. In my case, fixing my mind on one clear goal and mission at a time, and trusting that it will work out, has been a great strategy. It has helped me accomplish tremendous things. It even helped me become Miss America, so that now I can use that success to concentrate my attention on helping children who need it most. I think of it like skiing." "Skiing?" Aaron asked. Greg listened intently. "Think of it this way. Imagine being a skier at the top of a mountain where your goal is to get down to the bottom. It may be challenging, yet you have faith in your ability to make it to the clubhouse where the fire is warm and a hot cup of cocoa is waiting. Now, many people take their eyes off the end game once they get started. They may lose sight of their goal, or, even worse, they lose their faith and redirect their attention toward what they fear most, only seeing the obstacles along the way, like black ice, snowboarders, or those pesky trees that seem to jump out of nowhere." Greg laughed. "Once these people experience a setback or fall, they may give up, take off their skis, and ask the safety team to take them down the hill. They quit on achieving their goal because they fail to keep their eye on the prize and to believe in their own talent." "Making it to the clubhouse in this case," Aaron said. "Exactly. Now imagine these same people retaining their focused faith that they can overcome those challenges, which are just part of the journey. So when they hit a bump and take a fall, They get back up, knowing that one more obstacle out of the way and that they're getting closer to their goal, the bottom of the hill. As they neared the front of the line, they said their goodbyes. Greg offered the ladies his cab and waited for the next one. He was surprised at his own lack of impatience as he stood there reflecting on what he had learned. Once in the taxi, he dialed Mia's number on his cell phone. He was irritated that she did not pick up, forcing him to leave a message, the most recent of several, until he realized he had done the same thing to David. Poverty and riches are the offspring of thought. Napoleon Hill. Chapter 6. Formulating Success. Greg handed the driver the fare with a generous tip, thanking him for his hospitality and the trip from the airport. Climbing back into the front seat after helping his fare with his luggage, the cabbie wished all his customers were as friendly and generous as this one. Little did the driver know that before meeting Buckland, Greg had rarely thanked anyone, nor had he been much of a tipper. Something was changing. Greg wasn't even through the lobby of the hotel when his cell phone rang. A deep, controlled voice said, "Good morning. This is Jack Mates." "Hello, Mr. Mates." "Well, call me Jack. I understand you and I will be getting together later today." "Yes, and I'm looking forward to it. Where shall we meet?" "There's a coffee shop in the Riviera called Katie's. It's a classic. They've been talking about tearing the place down for years. You should experience it before it's gone." "It sounds perfect," the tourist concluded. "Let's make it around 1 o'clock so we miss the lunch crowd." Greg got to the coffee shop early. When Jack arrived, Greg immediately identified him, although the two had never met. Showing up in a pressed button-down shirt and a sweater, Mates had a sophisticated appearance and a distinctly positive aura. "You must be Greg," he said, reaching to shake hands. "Over the years, Buckland has only asked me to meet a handful of people. You must be special." "I didn't realize that. Thanks for sharing the information. It's an honor to meet you." As they sat down at a table across from each other, Mates asked, "How may I serve you?" "Serve me?" repeated Greg. "No one ever asked me that question. I should be asking how I can serve you." "On my flight over, I read through your bio, and have to say, it is humbling to be sitting with you now. Just knowing that you're the former CEO of Velcro USA, that you're a war hero, and that you helped start the Distinguished Flying Cross Society intimidates me a bit." Jack said, "No, I don't see myself as a hero, more of a patriot who has done his part to serve his country and the greater cause." "Let me switch gears and ask about Velcro in the early days. What was it like?" "It was exciting. Though when it was first released, the product definitely was not received equally. Plus, there were many more challenges along the way. Most people would have probably quit at some point." "Challenges?" Greg prompted. "Oh my, yes. You see, when we first started, we recognized the unbelievable possibilities of Velcro, yet we had to go through years of R&D, just like the makers of most products." "Such as?" "Well, for one thing, getting the hooks to work the right way. The idea originally came to the Swiss inventor George de Mestral after he had been walking his dog through a field. He discovered that his dog's coat and his pants were covered with cockleburs, and it made him think how useful it would be to recreate the sticking action in everyday products. The hook part clung to the soft material and created the bond. Attempting to reproduce that in a product form was our first obstacle. You cannot manufacture an actual hook made from a polyester line or string." "What did you do?" "We discovered that if we made simple loops of the thread, then cut them in the center, they would automatically retract to create two hooks going in the opposite direction and give us the result we were looking for." "Sounds simple." Greg sipped his coffee. "Most challenges in life have simple solutions. Sometimes you just need to step back and look at the situation. Look at it from different angles to get the best perspective. You wouldn't believe how many attempts it took us to figure out the Velcro hook." Greg pulled out his notebook and wrote, "Sometimes you have to step back and look at your situation from a different angle to find a different solution." Greg then asked a question that had been running through his head since he first learned he would be meeting this industry maverick. I'm in sales. I have been my whole life. I need to know something, and you may be the only person who can explain it. How on earth did you sell 5 billion people Velcro? We didn't, came the quick reply. We sold Velcro to 5 people. Greg stared at his lunch partner with a confused expression. Mate said, what I did was capture the leaders. I knew it would take forever to discover and sell everyone in the world on the many uses of this ingenious material, so I set my sights on selling only 5 specific individuals, the heads of the automotive, medical, aerospace, fashion, and furniture industries. In other words, I captured the leaders and then allowed them to corner their individual markets. In turn, they discovered the applications for the product and sold it to the ultimate consumers. Greg's brain churned through the simplicity and the magnitude of such a message. Now, Mate added, it seems you can't find a pair of shoes, a seat on a plane, or a blood pressure cuff without the stuff. It's everywhere. Greg flipped open his notebook and wrote, capture the leaders, corner the market. Greg asked, so, before you got to that level, was it pretty challenging in the early years? It really was. What kept us going was our sense of purpose. As I mentioned, there were many years of trial and error before we got the product to work properly. We knew it would revolutionize the fastener industry, but we needed to keep going. No matter what, we just wouldn't quit. As in many startups, it even got to the point where we couldn't afford payroll, so I had to mortgage my house to pay the staff. That's how much I was committed to the dream. That's amazing! I wish I could find something that I was that passionate about. You can, Mate exclaimed. I think that's why Bucky sent you to me, to discover your success equation. Oh, yeah, Mr. Buckland said something about that. Another young man I mentored came up with it and included it in a movie he made called Pass It On. After interviewing hundreds of leaders, he put into words what these people have done to create a life of sustained abundance. Jack paused and looked at Greg's notepad. Let me borrow that, please. Sure, Greg said, sliding it over. Jack Mates flipped to a clean sheet and wrote, the sum of P and T times A equals success. Pointing at the first letter in the equation, P, Mate said, this stands for passion. Combine your passion, what you would do if you could do it for free. He moved his finger to the T, with your talent, what you're really good at. Multiply that by finding the right association. He pointed to the first A, which means with the right people or organizations, and then the second A, and when you do so with taking action, you just may discover your life's purpose. Do this, and you will have great success. It works. Greg mused as he looked at the equation. But what if my passion is professional basketball, and my talent is, say, management? Throw in the fact that I'm an out-of-shape bald man. I'd have a hard time being able to do that for a living, right? You're both right and wrong, Jack noted with a smile. If you love basketball and you're a great manager, couldn't you simply find the right association and take action to become a basketball coach on a local campus? Become a sports announcer for TV or radio? Buy a team? Open a basketball apparel store? Sell tickets to the game? Become a camera operator at the sports arena? I get it. It wouldn't matter what position I held because I'd still be combining what I love with what I do best. So do something I love that I'm good at with the right people. You got it. All people have their own equation that is best for them. Really? Absolutely, said Jack. I know someone who loved to travel. That was his passion. Like your example, he too was a great manager. So he created a career for himself by calling the top resorts around the world and offering his services as a secret shopper. Now, all he does is travel to exotic locations, stay in the best suites, order room service, play golf, and get spa treatment. He evaluates the resort services and reports his findings back to the resort so they can make improvements. And by doing so, he helps create the best experience possible for their guests. I see. He followed his passion, combined it with his talent, and took action by creating his position and did it with 5 diamond hotels. That's amazing. Greg picked up the tab to pay the bill. Is there